Okay, we got a quorum.
We do, if we can count virtual.
We did, yeah, we're not voting on
But we're
anything,
not,
so.
yeah.
Yep, okay, we'll get the meeting started. Everybody look at the agenda, motion to approve the agenda.
So,
You got a motion to have a second?
Second by Miller.
Okay, got a motion and a second, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, public comment. Anybody have any comments? No? Okay, everybody read the minutes? Now a motion to approve the minutes.
We do have one small change to make. We had Jamie vote to approve the technical committee recommendation. And since he's on the technical committee, it would have been better to have Angie do that. And since Angie was there, if she's okay with it, all we have to do is change Jamie's vote to Angie's vote, if that makes sense.
Okay,
Angie, is that okay with you?
Well, we just got on. Sorry, we couldn't hear you. We were having some technical difficulties, so.
Okay, yeah.
What was it you were saying?
Last time at the August meeting, Jamie voted to approve the technical committee recommendation to, that's the wrong. When we were talking about, I'm sorry, when we were talking about the planning area boundary update, the technical committee recommended to approve or motion to approve. And then the policy board motion to approve the technical committee recommendation. The motion was seconded by Jamie Clark, but since he's on the technical committee, it has to be somebody from the policy board. And so since you're both from Glenwood, you were both at the meeting, all we would have to do is change that the motion was seconded by Angie Winquist instead of Jamie Clark.
That's fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
okay, with that change, do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve them as amended.
We have a motion, do I have a second?
That actually needs to be policy board only. Sorry, I
Okay.
believe you're untechnical.
Okay,
We need like one of those signs, policy. Hold up.
okay, so I needed a motion from the policy.
Second, Miller.
Okay, got a motion, a second? I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. We're good there? Okay. Project selection criteria.
Yeah, so last time we kind of started a discussion on possibly revising project selection criteria for a couple reasons. One is that you've expressed safety as a priority. There are workshops coming up on county safety action plans. And the previous scoring chart really only has one safety component, this crash history. And it looks at the last 3 years of crashes. And we did, if you remember, we did a poll last time and you guys voted how to prioritize scoring criteria. So these are the results of the poll. Crash history was number 1, and then pavement condition, regional significance, so on. But really, you've expressed safety as a priority more than once when we did the map exercise for the long-range transportation plan goals, when we did this poll. So there are many indications that safety is a priority for a lot of people in the RPA. And so that's one motivation. And then that kind of ties in, as I said, to the county safety action plan. And the workshops are coming up, and I'm sure you're a little bit familiar with it. But basically what it does is it identifies concerns and it lays out strategies on how to address them. It's a data-driven process. It's a process that highlights prioritizing projects, and therefore these things make it regionally significant. And it also is important because it allows jurisdictions to apply for funding from this program called Safe Streets for All. And this is a federal program. It's a $5 billion program over the course of 5 years. And it basically supports jurisdictions in making roads safer, preventing serious crashes, preventing fatalities and serious injuries. And it uses what we call a safe systems approach that I'll go into a little bit more. But it emphasizes that you need more than engineering approaches, because 90% of crashes are caused by driver factors. And so this is where the 5 E's come in, not just engineering, but enforcement, education, and as well as emergency response, what happens when there is a crash. And this involves basically everybody. So the safe systems approach is kind of a big picture, looking at it from all angles, recognizing that it's not just roadway design, it's making vehicles safer, making people's behavior safer, educating people so that they travel at safer speeds, they engage in safe behaviors, and it recognizes that humans make mistakes, and humans are vulnerable, not just when they're driving, but when they're walking, when they're riding their bike, when they're waiting for a bus, and basically every aspect of transportation, and looking at it from all angles. And of course, the goal is to prevent fatalities and serious injuries. So taking all of this into account and thinking about the workshops coming up, we just wanted to start a discussion to kind of think about how to add to the safety component when projects are being scored. And we're just going to try to do some brainstorming today. These are just kind of some points to get us started. In the past, you know, we just looked at number of crashes over a 3-year period. Now, do we want to focus more on the outcomes of those crashes? How many of those crashes are involved people being killed or seriously injured? The term KSI is used a lot to describe that. So once you define the area or the corridor, the geographic area where the project is going to take place, you know, what do you want to look at? Do you want to also look at whether these crashes involve cyclists? Do they involve pedestrians? Is it because there's a lack of crosswalks? People, you know, are forced to cross at dangerous places. They're forced to walk in places where with high-speed traffic, where there aren't sidewalks, things like that. So these are just some general questions. You know, what kinds of things do you want to incorporate in the scoring? And we would just like to get some thoughts going. We have some sticky notes. We have a large tablet over there to kind of hopefully capture some of your early thoughts to start working on a better way to score projects. So kind of like we did for the map exercise, I'll put all these sticky notes over here, and if you want to use different colors for different categories, that's fine, or if you just want to write your, it would be nice to get at least 3 concerns or ideas or how to approach that from everybody. And if you're online, feel free to type in the chat, or you can just let us know what you're thinking and we'll try to capture it. But just, we just kind of saw this as an opportunity to brainstorm before the workshops. It might help you when you go to the workshop to have thought about ahead of time, you know, what do you want to consider when projects are being, you know, it makes it locally relevant, and it makes it data driven. You know, you're not just thinking about, you're thinking about the data behind what's going on, not just, you know, this section of road is dangerous. Like how do we evaluate that? What happened there and what needs to be done to change it? Not just, like I said, not just from an engineering point of view, but what kind of data do we want to include?
I think for how many previous years, the ICAT goes to 10 years back, I think. So I would use that more than 3 years. I think 3 years is
3 is not enough.
What'd you say? I was gonna say that too.
10 years.
I was gonna say 10, yeah.
Yeah, or if you, however you want to do
Is
this.
that part of the new one that they just put out where you can check it through, non-service bureau, but they got a link from the safety action plan where you can go to the
I
program,
haven't gone to that.
view the county.
But yeah, I know ICAT has 10 years.
And I think one thing too, just building on the conversation here before the meeting, with the workshops that are coming up from the Kimley Horn project, you know, whatever resources that you're gonna be getting out of that, we wanna leverage that as well. And that's really where the safety action plan recommendation came from that. Because everybody will have something, it's all developed at the same time, it's a good starting point, and then, you know, 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the line, we can evaluate whether those are still the priorities or whether there needs to be other things identified.
Susan has a comment. What is changing in or beyond the corridor? Oh, okay, new school, new housing. Yeah, that's great input, Susan.
Hi, John Rasmussen here. I like the 10 years more than the 3, but should we wait until we get the safety action plans done before we plan on how we're going to utilize them? Because I don't think any of us really know what the final product's gonna be. I mean, I could see scoring if you have a item in your safety action plan to do something and you have an improvement identified and prioritized, that should be part of the scoring, but I don't even know what that looks like at this point, though.
I think that's a good point. We don't wanna be conflicting, and the safety action plan ranks this as a high criteria, and that's what we use to go after grants, but then this is conflicting with it or different or not, held to the same standard, it could hit us.
So we want consistency between scoring and safety action plan.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Well, I mean, you could have a corridor and do a project and not address anything in safety action plan, and you shouldn't get a scoring point for that. But if you're addressing those specific issues, you should maybe get the score points that way. But you know, if you're doing like a paved shoulder or something, or not doing a paved shoulder, then that should make a difference in the scoring. If that makes sense. I just don't know if I've seen I don't know if I've seen this level of data out of the accident reports. I mean, it's a shame to say. I mean, we had an accident last year that I didn't even know occurred until, you know, they're filing a claim against the county, and it was just on the weekend and never reported to us. So it's hard to catch that data. And if the officer doesn't do a complete report, you don't get that data.
Yeah, and John, that's a very good point. This is Carlos coming from not in the office today. I apologize for not being there. But John, that's a very good point. I think one of the questions here is also how much do we want to rely on you all providing that information versus how much work the MAPA staff can take on your behalf, right? I think there's certain aspects with the ICAT technology or ICAT driven system of reporting crashes that we're starting to use for some of the work that we've been doing on the MPO side that we're looking to leverage on the RPA side. So, you know, part of it is previously we just asked what's the total number of crashes, and that's all we did for safety. Now we're kind of starting to get at the nuance of, hey, we understand there might be a frequency of crashes, but we want to dive a little bit deeper into the type of crash, right? Is it hitting an inanimate object, right? Or going off the road or something along those lines? Or was it something more severe that resulted in a severe fatal crash, right? So right there, we're starting to make the distinction of it's not just the total number of crashes, right? It's now going to be total number of crashes and how many of those impacted severe and killed or fatalities, and then even subjugating it to a little bit additional scrutiny. Hey, were any of those fatalities or severe injuries related to bicycle and pedestrian activities, right? And this kind of aligns with the state goals to reduce the vulnerable road users crash, fatality and severe injury rates. So in that essence, in that example, yes, some projects may not check off some of the safety stuff, which is fine, but those that want the highest points would address some of these safety concerns.
Yeah, I feel like it's enough just being a priority in the safety action plan, because, I mean, we have the data, of course, then we're inviting all of our transportation partners in to come in and give us concerns. And, you know, I've even got some that people worry about lights here and this there, and there's going to be no safety data or accident history on some of these other wants and needs and concerns, but, you know, they're still real. There's a near miss there or something we need to key on. I think I think I'm going to like the safety action plan more than I like just the raw data, but I guess that remains to be seen. But I guess I don't want to be overwhelmed with finding data if we've already went through the exercise of identifying, you know, priorities within the county or all the counties and cities.
Any other thoughts?
I agree with what John's saying, that, you know, the safety action plans, there's been more effort into identifying all these things that we're gonna go out and collect for one project. And if we're just relying on ICAT data, then, I mean, if you know it's a dangerous intersection, but no one got killed there, you're almost waiting for someone to get killed before you change something. Whereas the safety action plan will identify the features that show the risk of it being a hazard, and so then you could potentially, you know, get points for that since it's listed in the action plan and fix it before it occurs.
One interchange that comes to mind, it's not in our district, but it's in Denison, where US 59, US 30, and Iowa 39, I think, all kind of come together. And there's no accident history there, but it's a mess. I mean, to drive it, it's a mess. But it's just one of the things that people are familiar with it, and they're driving cautious because it is tight and it is confusing. And sometimes, you know, like, I'll give another example, like Highway 6 between Oakland and Council Bluffs. There's a roadway when it was a 22-foot top, we had very little accident history. We go through and widen the shoulders and put rumble strips on it and make that corridor seem wider. And there's a higher rates of speed, there's inexperienced drivers, we have a large population of Hispanic drivers going back and forth to Oakland and Council Bluffs. And the crash history and the accident history went up. And in theory, it shouldn't, because we made the road a bit wider and safe. But people drive.
But you made it feel better to them driving down. Also, you took that cognizance out of the driver.
Yep.
Yeah, I think Jake and John, what you're saying, that, man, I think that's great, because that's the systemic approach, right? It's not just about waiting for something to happen and looking at it, but also being proactive. And hopefully that's what you all get out of this Kimley Horn project, because I think that'll be a really great resource. And I agree with John too, to your point of just not that the corridor is identified, but that it's actually whatever countermeasures are identified, whatever specific issues. I think that's a good matching to that, and making sure that the work that you're all investing your time into through the statewide project is, you know, ties back to here, and you're not duplicating effort. It's easy for MAPA staff to evaluate all of that. I think there's a lot of benefits to that.
Well, another project that comes to mind that DOT partnered with Pottawattamie County on was the L55 interchange on US 6.
Mm-hmm.
It was a wide interchange, and, you know, we all knew that's a problem.
Yep.
But until there was a fatality, it didn't score high enough to receive traffic and safety funds, which we applied to that. John went through and made it a T intersection. We added turn lanes on Highway 6, and it's much safer now.
Yeah, I would agree, and I think that's a great point too to bring up when we were talking before the meeting just about resources for this. You know, the TSIP program through Iowa has been really kind of focused on that systemic piece for a long time, whether it's the removal of the Y intersections, or it's, you know, high friction service courses on, you know, curvy, windy rural roads, or all of those things. And it's just a small pot of funding. I mean, it's grown, but you're splitting it, you know, however many ways across the state. You know, with traditionally, many of the safety resources have gone to state DOTs and then are allocated to projects. Mia highlighted the Safe Streets for All program, which is different in the sense that local jurisdictions can apply directly. There is kind of a scale, and you all know this better than anybody. You can't take a $10,000 or $50,000 project through the federal process. It's not good value. But when you look at things like what John's done with the bridge projects, to do kind of a pooled grant application, there's strategies to get there. It requires a little bit of foresight to put those pieces together. It requires money, frankly, too, just to get through the engineering side of things. But there are ways, there are opportunities to do it that look different than what we had before this infrastructure bill as well. So hopefully able to resource it and use the regional funding to do pieces of that as well.
And if there's, if there's a corridor that's got joint jurisdiction, say between Pottawattamie and Harrison County, I mean, if you could partner together and you can stretch your dollars a little bit and blow it that way too. Is John the Taj Mahal today?
Trying to pick up here. So back to safety on being the number one priority in scoring. If we're using federal funds, we're already updating safety. We're doing the cross slopes, we're doing entrances, we're updating guardrail. There's already a slew of safety stuff we do once we start using these funds, or we're supposed to be doing. I guess, yeah, safety is important, but it's already built into how we use these funds. So I guess I don't know that safety ought to be our number one here, and I know that's how we voted, I guess. But sometimes you just got to get a road built. But once we're building these, we're already required to do a lot of safety enhancements that are missing out there. So just want to throw that out there too.
So for the next call for projects, we discussed pausing the STBG applications and focusing more on the TA set-aside program. And that program has predetermined on the left here, all these criteria that have to be addressed in the application and in the evaluation. So there's not really that much room for adjusting those applications. But this will give us time by pausing the STBG applications, it'll give us time to refine the scoring criteria for next time. So in October, we'll have the next call for projects. And we also have to consider the next meeting date, because on October 9th, some of you are already aware, we're hosting Kevin Bell from Rails Trails Conservancy. He's been working on the Great American Rail Trail. Part of that is going through Iowa, and there are gaps that he's gonna lead a discussion about and how to address them and how to get communities together to accomplish more connections and more regionally significant trail projects. So that's happening on October 9th. You'll all get invitations for that. It'll be about 2 hours, 90 minutes to 2 hours. It'll be in Neola at Arrowhead Park at the Breezy Lodge. So normally our next RPA meeting would be on that day. So we would have to move it to most likely the 16th. Is that something that works for everybody? And location probably to be determined. We will have more parking lot construction. We'll be in the next phase by that point. So it might be a good idea.
No, we may use your facility again, John, because our parking lot's going to be about a quarter of the size it normally is here next month. So
That one I might have to join if it's October 16th, I'm gonna have to join via Zoom, because that takes the locker that morning. And I forgot to mention too, on the minutes, I was at that meeting, I must have not signed my name up on that.
What? I don't know if you have this slide, Mia, for the next meeting, but October 9th is also our annual dinner for MAPPA. It's being held in Council Bluffs. So you're all welcome to attend that. It'll be Kevin Bell. So we're doing a workshop during the day, as Mia alluded to. Kevin Bell is going to be the keynote speaker. It's at the Holiday Inn at Ameristar in Council Bluffs at 7 p.m. An invite's gone out for all of that, but you're all welcome to attend that as well. If you want to hear more about that, connect with other regional leaders. It's going to be people from kind of all 6 of Mapp's counties, but this workshop's going to be a little bit more focused on that Frontier Iowa Trails group and those trail gaps that people have been working on for a long time. Pot County has done just a tremendous job of building out their corridors, which also happen to be the Great American Rail Trail. So great to celebrate all of that, and then just talk about the work yet to be done.
Oh, great, John, thank you.
Yep, this is going, the invite for this is going out today or tomorrow, probably. We're finalizing that list. And then I can forward on the invite for the whole council officials thing. So 2 things on October 9th.
And then don't forget, we still have our survey available for the long range transportation plan. We'd love for all of you to take it and distribute the link to everyone in your jurisdictions. That'd be great. And then, yeah, next meeting will be all the projects. It won't be the 9th, yeah. It'll be
The 16th?
It'll be the 16th.
That survey, you want the whole public, or is that for?
Yeah, it's for everybody, yeah. The more responses we get, the better. Anything else? Any other business? That's all we have.
No further business. If not, do I have a motion to adjourn? So moved. In the motion, second.
Second, Miller.
Okay, motion second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. See you October 16th.
Yeah, thanks everyone who joined virtually.
Thank you.
Bye.